I have established an office in the Ministry of Health with the full responsibility of spearheading our national response to this latest disruption to our social order and our nation's wellness. To institutionalize this initiative, I have issued an executive order establishing an ultra-modern national mental health hospital and also elevated Mathare National Teaching Referral Hospital as a semi-autonomous specialized hospital, and I shall be looking to this House to support in the funding of this facility. The East Africa's premier mental health facility will be established to offer training, research in psychiatry, specialized psychiatric services, forensic psychiatric services, child and adolescent mental services, and substance abuse-related and addictive disorders treatment and rehabilitation services. Challenges to our public health notwithstanding, I am confident that in partnership with the county governments, we are on course to realize the aspirations that we have of universal health coverage for all. Honorable members, a nation's future is its children. As custodians of and trustees for future generations, it is our duty to protect, nurture, and mold our young children into responsible citizens. Our children embody the only true guarantee of continuity of this project that we call Kenya. To this end, my administration continues to institute far-reaching reforms within our education sector. And in January last year, we successfully completed the rollout of the competency-based curriculum, an exercise which, while notwithstanding its challenges, is one that has nevertheless been fully embraced by all stakeholders in the education sector. As at the end of 2019 calendar year, we had been able to achieve a textbook-to-pupil ratio of 1:1 for grades 1 to 3. I assure this distinguished sitting that the journey to replace the 844 system with a new fit-for-purpose curricula is well underway, and refinements are being undertaken in the course of implementation. Honorable members, as a parent and also as a grandparent, I share in the pain and frustration of most parents in having our children home for nearly an entire year. However, as a responsible government, we put the health and safety of the children as the paramount consideration. The gradual and phased reopening of schools that began with the examination classes is being carefully monitored at all levels so as to ensure that our young Kenyans are safe and secure as they continue preparing for their national examinations. The Ministry of Education will, within 14 days of the date hereof, announce the 2021 academic calendar, with all other classes expected to resume learning in January of 2021. Still on the subject of our basic education, I made a commitment to the nation during my last State of the Nation address that no child should be left behind, meaning that no child be denied their right to access education. I am pleased to report to this House that for the second year we have been able to achieve a transition rate of 100% from primary to secondary schools. And even as we prepare to reopen schools, I once again reiterate that no child will be left behind, even those who unfortunately have transitioned into being young parents. Honorable Speaker, we must say that in the face of these undoubtedly impressive gains, we must guard against resting on our laurels. The next frontier in the quest to providing education for all is to improve our education in Kenya by enhancing quality of education, both in terms of physical structure as well as content. It is evident that our public day and boarding secondary school infrastructure is overstretched. As a result, our students are suffering congestion in both classes and dormitories. These challenges, however real, must not stop us from pursuing what we know to be the right thing for our children. Rather, they should act as motivation for us to work even harder. Through a combination of interventions, both policy and financial, involving the Ministry of Education, county governments, and members of the National Assembly, through the National Government Constituency Development Fund, we shall have the necessary resources to address the infrastructure gap to our education sector conclusively within the next 24 months. In this regard, I therefore appeal to members of the National Assembly that the use of funds under your oversight should be used primarily to respond to the immediate and short-term needs of our learners. Currently, there is an urgent need for construction and equipping of more dormitories, classes, and other amenities to further facilitate ease of learning for our children. Indeed, conscious of the fact that significant financial resources will be deployed towards the construction of at least 12,500 new classrooms and related school facilities. And in that regard, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development have been instructed that by the 1st of December 2020 to issue a new set of building guidelines for school infrastructure that allows the use of appropriate and cost-effective building technologies suited to the varied geographies of our nation. The intervention of these guidelines will achieve transparent and standardized bills of quantity that will guarantee value for taxpayer money. For every shilling that we put into school infrastructure, we must seek to obtain more classes built to acceptable standards. Fellow Kenyans, honorable members, Mr. Speakers, on the state of our economic development at Article 132, read with Article 10 of our Constitution, I am required to report to Parliament on a wide array of economic, social, and relational achievements. I call the sum total of these achievements our economic development. Honorable members, economic development is not about intentions and activities. It is about results. It is not about the volume of what we did. It is about the impact of what we achieved. In other words, economic development is the measure of the tangible, positive transformation of the well-being and the quality of life of our people. During this year's reporting, I will focus on 4 areas of primary thrust and situate the 4 areas within the broad framework of the Big Four. And I must mention at the onset that the Big Four is not a project, as many think of it. The Big Four is an economic development strategy or framework which I have used to organize government delivery and to answer the question why in terms of the selection of the priority areas that we are working on. The philosophy of the Big Four is anchored in 4 intentions which we have pursued relentlessly this year despite the problem of COVID-19. The first one is liberating our urban poor from the poverty of dignity caused by poor housing and inadequate services. The second is transitioning our young people from being earners of wages to owners of capital. And the third is building a holistic base of human capital that is food secure and health assured. And the fourth is jump-starting the shift from being a country of net consumption to one of production. And this has been our why for the Big Four during this difficult year. Let me begin my report to you by discussing the poverty of dignity visited upon our urban poor. Indeed, it is a shame that almost 60 years after independence, a majority of our urban dwellers live in a dignity-poor environment. Their sanitary conditions are inhumane, their habitations are deplorable, and our intention is to reverse this. And the Nairobi Metropolitan Service is a pilot project that has been successful in rolling back the frontiers of this urban indignity. The other intervention we have engaged in is that of affordable housing under the Big Four. And my administration's pilot project at Park Road, Nairobi, is the first beacon on this journey that was delivered ahead of schedule and within budget. We have also concluded the successful incorporation and capitalization of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Corporation. This corporation will improve mortgage affordability, increase the number of qualifying borrowers, and result in the expansion of the primary mortgage market and home ownership in Kenya, while also deepening the capital markets through large-scale, medium to long-time refinance options. I would also like to report that there are also ongoing reforms in the land sector to improve access to land as a factor of development. Towards further promoting and sustaining Kenya's national development, the National Land Titling Program continues apace. During my administration and over the last 7 years, 4.5 million new titles have been issued since 2013, as compared to 6 million titles issued from 1963 to the year 2013. These are not mere abstract statistics, honorable members. They represent very real gains from wananchi and the resolution also of long-standing historical land injustices. For example, just last week, in Samburu County, only 2,000 group ranches were titled by the preceding administrations. But up to early this month, my government has issued over 10,000 new titles in Samburu County, and by January of next year, we are on course to have issued a further 15,000 title deeds. Honorable members, just over a month ago, I also issued a further 2,000 titles here in Embakasi Ranching in Nairobi, whose combined value to the owners is approximately 6 billion Kenya shillings in the hands of our people today. So, honorable members, to restore fully the sanctity of title, we are also digitizing all the land records across the Republic. This national endeavor is anchored under the National Land Information Management System, and the system is designed to enhance security of land records, improve accessibility, and also dramatically reduce the cost of land transactions. I call on all stakeholders, and in particular the Law Society of Kenya, to embrace and support this positive transformation that removes land information management in Kenya from its current 19th century system and standards to those that are more appropriate to the 21st century. Other reforms in this sector include the formulation of the Sectional Properties Bill to bring legal clarity to the ownership of sectional properties. The bill is in its final stages before introduction to this esteemed House. My prayer to you, honorable members, is that we may pass this bill that will allow millions of Kenyans access mortgage and credit for their apartments and smaller dwellings, and to create greater equity for all our people. Honorable members, let me underscore that eradicating the poverty of dignity is not just about securing tenure and dignified habitations. The poverty of youth dignity is also one of the areas that we have focused on. Youth pessimism and fatalism can also be turned to patriotism. If youth are liberated from the poverty of dignity, we have worked hard to give youth self-esteem and a sense of purpose. And we have done this because dignity comes from self-reliance and a sense of contributing to society. If the youth are given a sense of national importance, they will own the country and guard it jealously as active shareholders. Initiatives such as contracting youth artisans as suppliers to the Big Four projects is a visible example of this approach. The second intention under the Big Four during this report period has been about young people. My government's objective has been to shift our young people from being earners of wage to owners of capital. We have modeled this through engaging them in collective action. As we seek to grow our industries and create jobs in the manufacturing sector, we must of necessity have the manpower with requisite skills to match the needs of industry. Majority of the skills required are with respect to blue-collar jobs. To blue-collar jobs that need young men and women who understand the basics of the digital economy, and who have the capacity to deploy both knowledge and ingenuity as they seek to solve practical problems. It has taken considerable effort on the part of my administration to educate both parents and young people that there is a viable education pathway for Form 4 leavers who do not achieve the necessary grades to pursue university programs. This pathway is anchored in the technical and vocational training program. Today, I'm proud to report that we have so far enrolled 430,598 students in 182 technical and vocational training colleges across the country. The curricula for these institutions has been developed in partnership with industry stakeholders in varied sectors of our economy, ranging from the automotive industry, oil and gas, maritime and shipping, to agro-processing. We are also collaborating closely with technology partners to develop curricula for basic digital skills to allow our young people to take advantage of opportunities within the digital economy. Indeed, barely a month ago, I launched a border scheme meant to bring together 1.4 million riders in that sector who actively support 5.2 million families across the country. What I told them was that in aggregate, these riders make a total of Kenya shillings 357 billion every year, which is more than the total disbursements that we make to 47 counties through the National Exchequer, which presently stands at Kenya shillings 316 billion annually. And what I told them with these statistics in mind, it is clear that border riders can come together and become owners of capital and holders of major investments. We are encouraging them to engage in saving schemes and to work together in order to create a capital base that will enable them to own petrol stations, border assembly factories, and other investments that can transform their lives. Shifting our youth to become owners of capital also requires us to develop productive capabilities that move from the rudimentary to the complex operations. This is partly why we have revived Rivertex as a producer of textiles and a consumer of locally produced cotton. This is in line with the agricultural transformation strategy that obliges the growth of new strains of biotechnical cotton as a key area of opportunity for Kenyan farmers. The manufacturing pillar of the Big Four also aims to provide training ground for our young people to acquire skills and to replicate these in light industries. The third intention under the Big Four during this reporting period has been to develop a holistic human capital base. Our intention here has been to expand our health infrastructure and to guarantee that the individual is free from want and free from fear. Similarly, and in support of the holistic individual, I would like to report that measures aimed at achieving food security are already in place. The implementation, for example, of the agricultural sector transformation and growth strategy is well underway, and we have also successfully reformed the agricultural input subsidy program. If we can achieve this intention of developing a holistic human capital base, then we will increase our national productivity and enhance our economic development. The fourth intention of the Big Four under this year's economic development program agenda is the commencement of the journey from being a country of net consumers to a country of net producers. And in order to make this shift, we must admit that we cannot experience any significant progress in manufacturing and agro-processing without the building of transport systems and making significant investments in energy. Honourable members, even as we mooted the big four intention, some of us recognized then, as we still recognize now, that the task of ending the indignity of not having decent shelter, the task of enhancing access to universal health coverage, the task of enabling all who are willing to live in dignity through sweat of their brow to thrive, and the task of ensuring food and nutrition security would not be completed in a single term of office. That being the case, we gave a solemn promise that by the end of 2022, we would have laid an unshakable foundation for the realization of this vision, which is a shared aspiration for millions of our Kenyans. As an enabler to the Big Four agenda, my government will continue to roll out seminal programs in response to the needs of businesses, both large and small. We are continuously enhancing the ease of doing business and creating an enabling environment for all our enterprises to thrive. Earlier this week, I commissioned a transit shed at the Kenya Railways, Nairobi, and dedicated it as a clearing point for cargo imported into the country by our small traders, saving them the agony and inconvenience of delayed clearing of their trade wares, as well as saving them considerable financial cost. The dividends of our sustained reforms and investments over the last few years continue to enhance our nation's competitiveness and ranking globally. We have recorded many milestones thus far, such as Kenya's 80 slot improvement since 2014, with our nation currently ranked at number 56 globally and ranked third in sub-Saharan Africa on the Ease of Doing Business Global Ranking Report. This from a low of 136th position globally in 2014. As an affirmation of our place of pride within the community of nations, Kenya now ranks number 1 globally in protecting minority investors and 4th globally in terms of getting credit. The number of companies registered daily has increased by 500% from 30 in 2014 to 200 in 2020, and a daily average of 300 during the COVID-19 period. On aggregate, 400,000 companies are annually now registered in Kenya. My government, watu wanafanya biashara tu huko, hata nyinyi. My government has heeded the cries for bold and decisive actions to reduce the unnecessary regulatory burden occasioned by the multiplicity of licenses at both the national and county levels. Our initial focus in Nairobi City County has seen the waiver of a single business permit to all new businesses registered in Nairobi for the first 2 years of their operations, effective March of this year. We have also waived the presumptive tax requirement for all new businesses. These 2 initiatives and others within our Ease of Doing program will now be aggressively rolled out nationwide as we endeavor to make it easier for both local and international investors to set up, operate, and expand their businesses. And our endeavor is to make Kenya the best country on the continent in doing business by the year 2022. And for this, I seek the support not just of this House, but also of our 47 county governments. As we continue to create an enabling environment for our enterprises to thrive, we are also enhancing connectivity in the country through ports, road and rail. In respect to key national trunk roads, the construction of the Nairobi Expressway project continues apace, and just last month, I witnessed the signing of Africa's largest public-private partnership funded project, the Nairobi-Mau Summit Expressway. These are milestones which will have significant impact on the economy by decongesting Nairobi's gateways on the part of the expressway project and by opening up the economies of increasing connectivity in Western, Rift Valley, and Central Kenya on the part of the Nairobi-Mau Summit project. Honorable members, with regards ports and bridges, the Lamu Port Berth 1 is now complete, and the focus has shifted to bringing it into full operation for transshipment cargo. My administration is also now in the final stages of installing the Likoni Floating Bridge, an 824-meter long bridge costing 1.9 billion that will be the first automated floating bridge in Kenya. The Likoni Floating Bridge will help to decongest ferry transport at the Likoni Channel in the context of the COVID-19 safety concerns and beyond by providing a safe pedestrian connectivity from Liwatoni on Mombasa Island to Ras Bofu on the Likoni mainline side. Further, the Kisumu Port rehabilitation works are ongoing, and the new port is now, as we speak, already processing fuel products to Uganda. On our railways, 2 days ago, I commissioned the Nairobi Commuter Railway upgrades, which is set to dramatically change the public transport experience in Nairobi and across the metropolitan area. Additionally, we are undertaking rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway line along various routes. The Nairobi to Nyanyuki route is now back in service after decades of dormancy, with the Naivasha to Kisumu and Naivasha to Malaba route currently ongoing, an overhaul under a multi-agency team coordinated by the Kenya Defence Forces. With regard to the energy sector, the last mile connectivity program crossed the 7.2 million household connections mark that the country is proceeding well towards our aspiration of 100% universal electricity access by 2022. We have also completed a national geospatial mapping exercise that has allowed us to catalog the wealth of our natural resources. It will also enable us to improve the management and use of land, the essential but finite resource that we share as a nation. To protect all these undertakings, honorable members, I am required to submit a report on the state of our national security pursuant to Article 240 of our Constitution. Honorable members, the state of our national security is strong. Our homeland is secure from the varied threats against it. For this, and on behalf of all Kenyans, and as the Commander-in-Chief, I give thanks and praise to the brave men and women of our security services. They have continued to rout out terrorists arrested and prosecuted many. Their plots are detected and disrupted before they can cause serious harm to more innocent Kenyans. The war against crime and criminality continues apace, driven by the National Police Service that continues to undertake technological, human resource, and skills development to better service Kenyans. And while we celebrate the state of our national security, we must also recognize that our region is increasingly unstable. We are witnessing the escalating conflicts being caused by ethnicized and regionalized competition for political power. As has always been the case, we, as a country, are working hard to support peace and reconciliation processes where they are needed the most. We seek to export our peace and pragmatism to our region, knowing that success in our region will further secure our nation. Honorable members, we must always remember that the wages of bad politics is the people's suffering and ruin. Many neighboring countries today need a handshake. They need a politics in which competition is not turned into enmity and war. They need political leaders focused on including the young and desperate, not inciting them to revolt against their country and their elders. We have learned as Kenyans that elections alone cannot bring peace and unity to a divided people. For that, leaders must reach out to each other and build bridges over turbulent waters to allow the people to cross into safety and prosperity. Our state of national security will remain strong as long as we practice inclusive and sober politics. I ask the members of this House, all leaders, and all Kenyans to deeply ponder their role in promoting the politics that assures our security, deters our enemies, and is focused on serving the people. My administration is also implementing the following reforms in the security sector: the expansion of the National Police Service Control and Command Center for Surveillance and Communication, the successful launch of the Digital Occurrence Book Pilot Project, and in addition, I recently and very proudly unveiled the National Security Innovations exhibition at the Kenya Wildlife Service Law Enforcement Academy in Manyani in Taita Taveta County. This was a youth-driven, innovative project aimed at leveraging on technologies to address problems facing citizens, from cybersecurity, crime, revenue collection, gateways, social media communication, to geospatial mapping and resource consolidation, and even the manufacture of small arms. My government recognizes the important role played by ICT and innovation in overall national development. Information communication technology has greatly improved access to government services and enabled Kenyan youth access job opportunities outside Kenya. To ensure that Kenyans continue to enjoy these benefits, my administration has increased access to ICT infrastructure and connectivity through the rollout of the basic voice infrastructure in 67 sub-county locations in all unserved areas. To improve access to information and e-government services, my administration has also established 135 constituency innovation hubs across the country. Honorable Speakers, as part of my functions as President, I am also requested to submit a report for debate in the National Assembly on the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. At the end of this address, I will indeed submit this report to this House. However, some of the key achievements of that report are worth mentioning in this State of the Nation address. As we relentlessly pursue our national development agenda, we remain alive to the fact that as a respected member of the community of nations, we have obligations on the regional, continental, and global stages. We are also acutely aware that the modern world is one where a myriad of transnational, traditional, as well as emerging security and ecological challenges pose grave threats to national security and development within our own borders. That said, we also do not lose sight of the tremendous opportunities available regionally, continentally, and globally for Kenya to deepen our shared prosperity. The East African community remains Kenya's foremost trade and investment priority, and we want to see even a further deepening of the integration processes within the EAC. Our people will reap the benefits of shared prosperity, and I look forward to working closely with all our neighbors to increase our exports within the East African community. And I am happy to note that indeed, in 2019, our exports to the East African community jumped to a 6-year high. We joined the ranks. As we joined the ranks with our brothers within the African continent, in March of 2018, Kenya and Ghana were the first countries to not only sign, but also to ratify the landmark agreement creating the African Continental Free Trade Area. And once again, honorable members, I thank you for your support in making that happen. This agreement brings the 54 African nations under one common market with a population of 1.2 billion and a combined gross domestic product of more than $3 trillion US. Indeed, as a champion of Africa's integration, I am elated that this agreement has officially entered into force and became operational on the 1st of July of this year. Honorable members, Kenya is also enjoying greater diplomatic goodwill and a deeper international friendship than at any other time in our history. We are engaging with the United Kingdom to evolve an arrangement that will guarantee us continued access to the United Kingdom market following their exit from the European Union. Similarly, we are proactively consulting with the United States of America for a solution that will ensure Kenya's continued access to the United States market beyond 2025, when the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act comes to an end without the need for the PAC's further renewal. Apart from deepening our cooperation with our traditional partners, we have also sought to unveil new frontiers for mutually beneficial cooperation with countries in Eastern Europe, the Asia-Pacific region, as well as the Caribbean. I am pleased to report to this House that last year Kenya assumed the presidency of the Organization of African and Caribbean and Pacific States for the period of 2019 to 2023. Based on our strong conviction that we should leverage on our rich experience and leadership to articulate Africa's issue in the global arena, we offered also our candidature for the non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council for the period 2021 2022. We obtained the overwhelming endorsement by the African Union, which was reaffirmed during the 33rd Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government that took place in Addis Ababa in February of 2020. And I am pleased to report that when elections were held in June this year, Kenya was elected as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council for that period of 2021-2022. Being a member of the most influential body of the United Nations gives Kenya an opportunity to play a more significant role in the pursuit of peace and security. And I wish to thank the African Union for its support, as well as the many friendly nations across the world who voted for us, for this is indeed a big win for Kenya and Africa. Honorable members, I will conclude my remarks today by touching on the deliberate steps that we have taken to place Kenya on a path to a greater national unity, inclusivity, peace, and reconciliation. In March of 2018, the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and I launched the Building Bridges to a New Kenyan Nation initiative. To support the same, in May of 2018, we established the Building Bridges to Unity Advisory Task Force. And this task force has now completed its work and submitted its report, a report which has elicited great public debate. The report extensively evaluates our national challenges and makes robust and comprehensive practical recommendations to address them. Indeed, as we progress to the next phase of this, I urge all Kenyans to constructively consider the recommendations therein. More importantly, let us continue to address ourselves to these issues with a view to effecting far-reaching changes that will address the perennial challenges that we have faced as a nation, the challenges of negative ethnicity, inclusion, equitable development, and indeed our fight against corruption. Honorable speakers, honorable members, fellow Kenyans, like Moses in the Bible, who sat at the top of Mount Nebo and saw the future that the people of Israel were about to cross into the promised land, I too have seen our future. This is what fellow Kenyans, is what our future looks like. A Kenya where no one will ascend to a high public office on account of their tribe. A Kenya where no capable person will wallow in poverty because of poor governance. A Kenya where our potential as a people will be exploited for the greatness of our nation. A Kenya where we will all share equitably in this prosperity of our nation. I believe our future is bright. I believe the future is beckoning us. The future is here for us to take. Indeed, a future where truly justice will be our shield and defender. Every journey, fellow Kenyans, starts with a single step, taken in faith, at times against all odds. That journey has commenced. Major changes are needed to our Constitution and other laws so as to lay the foundation for the prosperous future that we seek. As a people, we must seize this constitutional moment, as I have said, to ensure that we deliver to future generations of Kenyan the future that they deserve. Indeed, Kofi Annan once aptly reminded us as a country that this world is not ours to keep, we hold it in trust for future generations. This moment in time is our meeting with destiny. When generations come long after we are gone, let them say that we made the right decisions at this moment, that we chose unity over division, that we dreamt of and birthed a happier, more harmonious and prosperous nation. Kenya, honorable members, is greater than any individual. Indeed, Kenya is greater than the sum of its citizens. We, honorable members, are a beacon of hope, an icon of peace and stability in a very volatile region. And we must be a role model for progressive African social democracy. These qualities are not inherent. We must continuously water them from the well of our national commitment to a better, brighter, and more inclusive Kenya for all. Honorable speakers, honorable members, finally, as we seek to grow our democracy and deepen institutional synergy within government, I challenge the leadership of our two houses of parliament to strive as much as possible, please, to resolve issues of concern by consensus building. As worldwide experience shows, there is always some level of jostling to be expected between the two chambers of national legislatures, and that happens everywhere around the world. This happens as they each seek to better exercise their institutional mandates. However, honorable members, these issues should only escalate to external dispute resolution processes as a last resort. Doing otherwise hurriedly compromises the legislative authority of the House. On our part, as the executive, we will always be at hand to aid in that consensus building and to foster internally mediated outcomes within Parliament. So, honorable members, finally let me conclude by reiterating this. The state of our nation is strong, the state of our nation is steady and resilient. Similarly, the state of our economic development is and remains on course despite unexpected disruptions to our economy and way of life, chiefly from COVID-19. With regard to our national response to COVID-19, Kenyans must remain vigilant, and by so doing, we are capable of defeating this invisible enemy. And now, honorable speakers, it is my pleasure to submit to Parliament the following three reports as required by the Constitution. 1, the report on all the measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of our national values. 2, report on progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. And 3, the report on the state of security. Further, and in recognition of the centrality of transparency, accountability, and good governance as the anchors of sustainable development, and while also conscious of the pivotal role played by micro, small, and medium enterprises in driving growth and creating opportunities, I do have the pleasure of submitting, alongside the constitutionally required reports, the following other reports. 1, the report on ease of doing business, milestones 2017 to 2020. And 2, the annual report of the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions for the financial years 2017-18, 2018-19, 2019-20. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, Mungu awabariki na Mungu ailinde taifa letu la Kenya. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, you may be upstanding. Your Excellency the President, the Speaker of the National Assembly, honorable senators, honorable members of the National Assembly, it's now time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 17th November 2020 at 2:30 p.m. in the Senate chamber. I thank you.
Your Excellency, the President, honorable members of the National Assembly, the National Assembly now stands adjourned till Tuesday, 17th of November at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
The President has spoken. Uhuru Kenyatta has delivered his State of the Nation address and now is leaving Parliament buildings. That address lasted over an hour, almost an hour 30, and key points raised. But let me bring in my guests at this point to get their insight into what they make of the President's speech. Professor Naituli, I'll start with you. Thanks for sitting with us through this. What are your thoughts?
One, let me say that I think the President has lifted our spirits. He has been very positive, because that's what he should be. He can come at the national race to depress us. But I was, I'm a lecturer, so I have a marking scheme. So I'm trying to figure out, because the law requires the President address us on national values in Article 10. And I think the President has been all over the map. So I expected to hear something about what we are doing in order to promote human dignity, equity, social justice, human rights, the rule of law, what we have done to promote the idea of sharing and devolution of power, because that's what the President is supposed to address himself to. What we have done about promoting good governance, integrity, transparency and accountability, and of course issues of sustainable development. So as a teacher, because I teach and I mark students, I think I would give President a C.
Average.
C, average. I can't fail my President, but I'll give him a C.
All right. All right. Before we cross over to my colleague, Kennedy Murevi, Professor Kagwanja, the President began his speech by saying the state of the nation is strong and resilient. Your thoughts on that, plus the rest of his speech?
I think yes, on my part, I think he gets more than a gentleman's C, which is what the Americans call a failure. You have no business failing anybody. You just give them a gentleman's C. I think he was very balanced. Balanced in the sense that he met the criterion of hope. But at the same time, he went through the realities, and in giving hope, he basically gave some concrete things that are worth mentioning. Take, for example, he described the nation as resilient. By being resilient, it means that you are not doing, the environment is hostile, but you are stronger than your challenge. I think that's really a good description for Kenyans. Well, the state of the nation is strong. And in comparative terms, look at the United States, look at the UK, look at everywhere. Everybody is down. So the only thing you can say is give people hope in that regard. Amid this COVID-19, we have won the UN Security Council seat. We now to determine the rest of the world. And two, even though COVID has hit us, it has not hit us like our neighbors. We have only 66,000 people cases. Look at South Africa, 442,000 and 20,000 people dead. You know, the statistic was to invite you to do a comparative. So we're doing well.
All right. I'm afraid, I apologize, I've got to just interrupt. I'll come back to you. We've got to cross over to Kennedy Muredi at Parliament because he's got a guest, I believe it's Musalia Mudavadi. Let's cross over to Kennedy.
Everybody says that President Uhuru Kenyatta has tried to take us round a round trip on what he has basically done. But right now, I'm joined by Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi just to pick his thoughts on what has gone on and what do you think the president's speech, has it lived up to your expectations?
Well, let me say that reading between the lines, the president had very little room for maneuver in terms of what can be done under these very difficult times. Resources are scarce, and most of the resources are being directed on matters of health, as it were. And listening to him, I could see that he's trying to anchor the recovery of the economy on his Big Four agenda. That is where he gave a lot of emphasis. So basically, the long and short of it is that his message was a message that we are not out of the woods and we need to focus and utilize our resources effectively so that we can systematically start resuscitating the economy.
Then you are one of the biggest supporters of the economy that I know. Most of the press conferences that I have attended, that you are the one who is speaking. You've been very particular on this issue of economy. Yes, you say that he has anchored his speech on this Big Four, but do you think he has given a tangible turnaround that Kenyans can actually hinge their hopes on?
As I said, there's very little room for maneuver. He did point out some areas like investment in infrastructure, like the Nairobi-Mau Summit Road, the issues he's doing around the railways, and he also said they are trying to invest more in the energy sector. So you could see he's trying to say that whatever there is, they must take it to the infrastructure level, because the government has not met its tax revenues. KRA has had to cede a lot of taxes, and therefore there's very little money. So my view is that as Kenyans, we must brace for harder times. That is my message to them, listening to the president's speech.
Well, there's the question also of inclusivity, and he has actually hailed the handshake that he had with his partner in March 2018, and actually says that he would want other countries within the region to embrace that. We just know that Tanzania has come out of an election that is contested, and has even seen the opposition leader leave the country and go to a foreign nation. Would you believe that that was one of the references that was being made? And what would you say of this BBI process, the whole of it, as President Uhuru Kenyatta has captured?
I think he talked about it, and he said that his hope is that Kenyans will be objective, and his hope is that Kenyans can be united. He did allude to the conflict in the region and saying that we are a beacon of hope in this entire area. And he did talk about inclusivity. He also talked about consensus building. As he referred to the Senate and the National Assembly, he said a lot of issues can be sorted out through consensus building and inclusivity. Now, this was coming head on the heels of his remarks on the BBI. So to me, I think the president was saying we can resolve a lot of these things by coming together, reasoning together, and building consensus.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate that speech towards Kenyans?
I would say that the president was offering a measure of hope under very difficult times when people are depressed from both the health scenario and also the economic scenario. So he was saying, yes, the times are bad, but with resilience and pulling together, things can come better.
Thank you very much. Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi there, speaking to us on his thoughts about this speech by President Uhuru Kenyatta, terming it as a speech of hope in difficult times. But I would want my camera person, Fidel, to walk with me so that we can probably get some other views. I saw the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka somewhere here. Probably we would also want to get his views on this particular speech, and also from other leaders as to what have they really picked. But also, Smriti, as we just walk along, is that there are some things that we've been also able to pick. And President Uhuru Kenyatta believes that his journey towards the Big Four is continuing, and he is going to be able to deliver. And he's also gone ahead to mention some of the things that he believes are on course as we go on right now. And President Uhuru Kenyatta says that, yes, I may not achieve what I want to achieve by the time I leave, but he will already have set the ground for what he would want the other administration that comes after him to be able to pick up on. He now says that the Big Four is not a destination, but it is a journey that is going to be taken by many. Then there is also the question of the Ministry of Education, where President Uhuru Kenyatta has been very categorical that within 14 days, the Ministry of Education is going to give guidelines and also new dates on when students are going to go back to school, saying that nobody is going to be left behind, but being very categorical that all children must go back to school by January next year. So we just want to continue picking some of the views, and I just see member Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala. You were in that chamber, or probably in one of the other places that were designated as a chamber. What are your thoughts on this speech by President Uhuru Kenyatta? We've just spoken to your party leader, and he has quite some views, but what are your own views?
First of all, I want to admit with all honesty, Ken, that this has been a very good speech, most specifically on the issue of him allowing consensus in the BBI initiative report. We have insisted that it is a very good document, yes, but we must open up for consensus, and I think that was in good faith.
So is the consensus with regards to the BBI or to the both houses of parliament?
He has said that the BBI has brought up a national conversation, which people should participate, and as leaders we should be able to build consensus and come up with a document that is going to help this country. But on the issue of the traders and the young people of this country, I want to say that he has given up a report on easing ways in which young people and traders who can do business in this country, and I think that is a plus for us. But the biggest challenge after this speech, the implementation bit now rests in the executive. We must ensure that whatever has been said today is implemented to the letter, so that it's not just a narrative of us meeting here every year and listening to narrations. We need to have an implementation strategy and a framework in which we can monitor. And next year when he comes here, he should be able now to tell us what has he achieved so far.
Framework is a very good thing. Now we also have Member of Parliament for Dagoretti South, and there's the question of youth. And do you think it has been addressed properly in that speech that was given by President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Thank you very much, Moredi, and I've got to say that the President is required constitutionally to present to Parliament 3 reports. But this year, you see he has presented 5 reports. And when you bring up the issue of the youth, one of the issues that he brought up in this extra report that he has given an extra report on the ease of doing business and an extra report on the report from the office of the DPP. So the report about the ease of doing business in Kenya does directly speak to young people who want to register companies and get into business and so on. However, Moredi, the bigger question is, we have listened to the State of the Nation address, and I would say that it perfectly captures the maladies in this country, perfectly captures the problems that we have as a country. The big question we ought to ask ourselves after this speech is whether we are getting the right remedies for these maladies that we so eloquently talk about. Because we tried it in 2010 and said that all our maladies shall be solved by one hypodermic needle called the Constitution 2010. Not more than 10 years later, we are here saying again that we have a hypodermic needle that we will inject into this country and we shall solve all our problems. And the reality of it is, Ken, that there is something bigger than documents that is going to solve the issues of this country. It cannot be a document that is going to be seen as a hypodermic needle. But I am happy that the President does speak about inclusion, and I believe that this shall be done, across board, because you cannot be exclusive in your inclusion. And that's something for you as media to follow through on some of us who are in the political space to make sure that our beautiful and eloquent speeches are followed up with the right actions.
Well, you've spoken about a hypodermic needle then, but there's the question where President Uhuru Kenyatta has so eloquently, as you say, gone ahead to provide one of the solutions for the millions of border operators in the country, where he actually believes that they bring in more money in a year than what money is taken to the counties. He has actually put the figure at around 357 billion shillings and gone ahead to say that the money that goes into the counties is about 316 billion shillings. He said that this money should be put into 1, 2, 3, 4 uses. What would you say about that as one of the solutions that the president has given?
Brilliant, brilliant, because first of all, it's recognizing that yes, there is a hustler nation in this country, that these young people who are seen as the law of the law in the society do actually contribute to the economy, so that we do not have a demeaning or conversation about people who are riding borders or a trader who gets their business out of a wheelbarrow. That is important. But more importantly, and you brought up the youth issue, the president has said, and rather poetically, that he, like the Moses of the Bible, has gone to the top of the mountain and he has seen where Kenya needs to go. And he has poetically told us the Kenya that he sees. And it is upon us young people in this country and people who are even younger than us to now take up the lead that Moses has given and know that Moses was brilliant in the vision of seeing where Canaan is. But remember, Moses never went to Canaan. So the Joshua generation in this country will now have to step up, taking up from where the president has so well and poetically and eloquently told us that there is an older generation that has vision, just like the Bible says that the old men shall see dreams, but the young men shall have visions.
Well, Smithy, those are some of the views that are coming from here in Parliament. But right now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has already arrived, and I would want my camera person, Fidel Nthiga, to come with me and just be able to show, because we do know that the next step is going to be launching the Swahili standing orders. In Swahili, it is called Kanuni za Bunge, and that will be the next step. We see President Uhuru Kenyatta is seated there. His deputy, William Ruto, is already there. The speakers of Parliament, we see the Speaker of the National Assembly, that is Justin Muturi, and also the Speaker of the Senate, that is Ken Lusaka. And the books are already there, and also we can also see some of the leadership of Parliament as a whole. So this particular book, they will be telling us what is important on it and what should we be expecting, as also Parliament was able to adopt Swahili and the usage of it. But right now, we'll just be leaving you with these live pictures of what is happening and also the deliberations that are going on as we take you back to Smriti studio. What you can also see is that the members of Parliament are awaiting here to see what the next step is going to be, and also they also get that opportunity to mingle with the president. But right now, it's back to you, Smriti, in studio.
All right, Kennedy, thanks very much. That's NTV's senior political affairs reporter, Kennedy Mureithi, coming to us live from Parliament, where President Uhuru Kenyatta completed his State of the Nation address about 20 minutes ago or so. The pictures on your screen, members of Parliament gathering, clearly no social distancing, might I add. But from that, let's bring you back to studio now. My guests are still with me as we close this broadcast. But first, Professor Kagwanja, before we crossed over, you were in the middle of giving your status report on the President's speech.
Yes,
Continue.
I said it was a balanced report given the circumstances under which the President was reporting. Let's not confuse the state of the nation with spelling out a manifesto. The President was just taking an account of what we have gone through, admitting some challenges and so on. And I said that there was this positive end, that a resilient Kenya has achieved so much. And the last point he made was that even under COVID-19, we are on top of it, compared to other pivotal states in Africa. One of them would be South Africa. If you take Nigeria or take Egypt, you're going to see how Kenya has achieved. 66,000. South Africa, 742,000. 1,000 deaths in Kenya, which we lament, and for which we had a minute of silence. But 20,000 in South Africa. In comparative terms, he says we are doing well, and that's the statistics there. But he says that in regard to moving forward, yes, he has one more State of the Nation to give, but he does not see himself going to Canaan as a president. So, but he can see, the promised land. And the road, and he's paving the way to the promised land by overcoming the challenges we are facing. And two things he said are key. One is the recovery plan. Right. And he bases this on the people themselves. More teachers, more doctors, more interns. That's how to build and strengthen the resilience of the country. And finally, the handshake. And the handshake is not just for us. It is also beginning to become our export in a region that is very volatile. Peace is to us a commodity that we must nurture very, very effectively. That was the President's message. It's not just for us, but also for our neighbors.
All right, thank you so much. Professor Naituli, of course the President did touch on a number of issues such as the impact that COVID-19 has had on the country, the education system, economic recovery, the Big Four agenda, the BBI. Not a huge amount was mentioned regarding corruption. Were we expecting to hear more? Although I know that, as you read earlier, some people have misinterpreted what this speech is meant to be about.
Yes, I think so. I think the President has actually concluded that part of his legacy will have to be fighting corruption. And to his credit, he has done more than any other president in the past in that direction, right, even though there is those gaps. But also, I think this speech, for the first time, I believe he has alluded to an important missing link in our leadership architecture, vision. And then the method of carrying the followers, the buying of the followers of that vision. You remember Martin Luther King, when he had trouble mobilizing black people in resistance in order to liberate themselves, he told them I've been at the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. But he told them something else very important. He painted a picture of how the promised land looks like, because they have not seen it. Yeah. So he told them in the promised land, my little children will no longer be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. So I think the President needs to paint for us how this promised land look like, so we're inspired, so we can follow him in the promised land. But it's crucial and important that the President has noticed that he has brought the vision in his speech and then brilliantly presented it. That piece has impressed me.
All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, just your final remarks now as we close. Professor Kagwanja, what should Wanjiku and the common Mwananchi take away from this? Of course, everybody's got their own views. They come from different sides of the country. But your parting words.
I think Wanjiku should take it that what she has heard are the views of one of her sons and the considered view from where he sits. And for him, what he sees is resilience. He does not see his achievements, he sees the resilience of his people. I think that's a very, very good perspective to keep at the back of our mind. Two, he sees hope. A country whose state is strong, That's what he sees. And he sees people who fight on despite the challenges. And therefore, that's on balance is a message of hope. But I think I agree with Prof that as we go on, we need to get a clearer picture of the promised land as we move. The roads are clear, the road recovery plan, handshakes and all. But what is it that we are going to? And that is very, very important, that we get a concrete vision of what we are. The rest we feel for ourselves. He has done a wonderful job basically showing us the roadmap. He has shown, given us hope, but we need to get some concrete things, the appetizers. What is it that we are salivating about in that promised land? Is it the pumpkin, the watermelons of Egypt that I want to go back to, or why should I go to Canaan?
Right. All right. Finally,
just 1 minute on the BBI. I really appreciate the fact that the president has said we need a consensus, because there was a risk for the proponent of the BBI proposing a solution to an non-existent problem. Opening it up for consensus will actually mean that it will be focused and it will achieve its objectives. And that was also very good, because there is no dogmatism. You see, the beauty of this country is we are never meant to commit collective suicide. We always come together, regardless of the pressures and regardless of what the challenges that we face. And I can see the flexibility in the president here in this speech. I can also see that it looked like he avoided what was written there.
Right. He steered off a little bit. All right. Well, he has the authority to do that, I suppose. All right. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. Joining me in studio today to discuss the State of the Nation address, Professor Peter Kagwanja on my far left, and closer to me, Professor Kitila Naituli. We have also been broadcasting to you live from Parliament, and earlier in this broadcast from across the country, including Nakuru, Kisumu and Mombasa as well. We'll have much more for you in our subsequent bulletins, so do make sure you tune in for NTV Jioni at 7 o'clock and NTV Tonight at 9 o'clock. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good afternoon.
Sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain.
If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Program ikaleta hizi redio na sola zitusaidia kuniwezesha kuendelea kusoma hata kama ni usiku. But kasi wings to fly singeweza kufika hapa hata penye nipo.
To achieve great things in life, you must do little things every day, like the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate.
1, wake up, wake up. 2, brush up, brush up. 3, smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea. Smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea.
Do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate and give yourself a future to smell about.
To Bonga 10 and enjoy 100 minutes Airtel to Airtel. Upgrade to Bonga Plus 20 to get 100 free minutes Airtel to Airtel plus 10 additional minutes to all networks. Dial *544#. Not just for a few, but for every one of you. Airtel. The Honest Network.
Collect your invoice from our cash office at Times Tower Banking Hall or City Hall and Makadara offices and pay each day only through the Nairobi County Revenue Collection accounts at Cooperative Bank of Kenya. You stand to gain 100% from the 100% waiver extension. At the end of the waiver period, KRA will institute enforcement measures.
Pata kila kitu upendacho kwa M-Pesa kupitia *334#.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Nafina, listen to me. I am not...
You didn't care if you've hurt Renata, who's been more than a daughter to you, to give Matias a position that he doesn't deserve.
I have no idea who your informant is, but it's obvious that he hasn't been feeding you the whole story.
Then you could be in serious trouble.
Oh my goodness.
Do you know them?
Usilipe kitu ndo upate loan. Stawi is a product by KCB, Cooperative, NCBA and DTB banks and is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. Stawi, the lending app that's enabling MSMEs grow their businesses.
Wataipenda. Ataipenda. And them. Pia yeye. Na hao pia. Kila mtu ataipenda. Pata kila kitu upendacho kwa M-Pesa kupitia *334#. Kwa kuweka kila kitu kwa namba moja, tumerahisisha mambo ili uweze kuendelea kufanya vitu unavyopenda ukitumia M-Pesa.
Love garlic in your food but hate the hustle of making it? Introducing Fresh Fried Garlic, specially crafted with garlic oil for healthy living. The oil has a beautiful garlic aroma and adds an extra kick when used on your favorite meals. Fresh Fried Garlic combines wonderfully on salads, stir fries, marination for meat, or simply when sprinkled on your favorite dish. Try Fresh Fried Garlic today. Available in all leading outlets countrywide.
Like every mother, I'm worried about dangerous insects, especially mosquitoes, which spread diseases like malaria to my loved ones. This year, I'm not afraid. I'm using Mortein Doom. Mortein Doom All Insect Killer provides protection in seconds. Not even a single mosquito is spared, because even one mosquito bite can cause malaria. Mortein Doom provides protection in seconds.
Wakenya, hii fight hatukuchagua, lakini tuko na choice. Tuchague kujilinda. Tuchague kuprotect familia zetu. Tuchague usafi. Kuosha mikono. Kuosha manyumba zetu. Ndio tulinde watoto wetu. Na tuvae mask. Future yetu iko mikononi mwetu. Kenya, let's do it for the ones we love.
Jiko Koa, Kenya's highest saving, longest lasting and biggest Jiko, cooks fast using half the charcoal compared to other Jikos, so you use less fuel and receive extra savings. Enjoy our great discounts and save an extra 500 Kenya shillings when you buy Jiko Koa at your nearest shopping outlet. Sumo Premium Candles. It is made of pure, fully refined paraffin wax. It doesn't